Hey guys, and welcome back to another YouTube video. In this video, we're going through Carlton's win over West Coast and how West Coast just completely collapsed. Especially after, I think, quarter time, as I think they were only up by, Carlton were only up by maybe 2 points at quarter time, it was something like that. And then again, awfully similar to the likes of the North Melbourne versus West Coast game. The second quarter was an absolute blowout. Yeah, it was 16-14 at quarter time, and then at halftime it was 45-14. So it was that 4 goals, 5. It was 29-0 in the second quarter, and then in the third quarter it was 33-9. So in the space of 2 quarters, it was 62-9 in the space of 2 quarters, and that pretty much kills off a game. Even in the last quarter, it was 3 goals, 3 to 1 goal, 5. So even in that quarter, it was 21-10. So after the first quarter, what was it? Something like 14. So it was about 20 points to 83-20 after quarter time. Is just not acceptable, to be honest with you. I think West Coast have a long way to come back, given their side is just ruined, and it's tough to see how West Coast come back, just because they're at a point now, and this is probably going to sound rough, is just that they have no real top line guys outside of Harley Reid. Like Yo's only got a year or 2 left, and he's going to be cooked. Duggan is 28 or something like that. So I don't know exactly, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's like 28. So he's like on the other end as well. How old is he? Yeah, 27, probably turning 28. But yeah, he's getting close to, he'll be 30 or something, 31 by the time that they get back to decent status. Gaff is gone. Kelly's like 30, I swear. Let me just check that. Kelly is 30, so he'll be gone by the time that they're good again. Williams isn't a good enough ruck. Like, they just have so many holes in their lineup. Cripps will be gone. McGovern will be gone. They're just looking at it right now. So many holes, and they just got to find players. So and the problem is that they're going to go for, I would expect, Baker, which will use up, I don't know exactly, maybe to this year's second and a future second or something like that, to get that. And then you have a first round pick where you probably pick. They probably need another midfielder and play Baker half forward, but we'll see what they do. Anyway, let's just jump into this video. So I've been talking too much about West Coast off season, as I'm probably almost more excited fantasy related to their off season than their current crop of players, as I don't really see any upside left for them. Yo 108. I don't really rate Yo as a fantasy prospect. As in just bring him in at any point in the season now, as I think he's just a guy that averages 90, has a couple of spike games, and I don't know who they play exactly in the last round. I think they play Geelong. I just don't think he will dominate the Geelong midfield as much as people expect him to do. I think that he just goes, even if he just goes 105, I don't know if that's necessarily that good. And I just think that there will be a guy that probably goes 130, 140 in defence, as they just kick it around the back. Duggan 102, he's probably almost a better fantasy prospect than the likes of Yo, just because I think he has more top end potential. He's got a 125 in here. What does Yo have? Yo has a 117, so Yo probably has more top end scores, as in 100 plus. Oh, he's got a 132 in here. So I just think that Duggan is probably a better avenue to having that really high ceiling score. So that's why I'd be going Duggan over the likes of Yo. Harley Reid 99. He finally produces an all right score, but no one has him anymore. He's probably, the decision to trade him out early was probably the decision that derailed my season in fantasy. And yeah, that was just a really poor one. Gaff, Kelly, Williams, Ryan, I could just go quickly through. McGovern, Cripps, Witherden I don't even think gets another deal, and he's just clogging up that defensive sort of halfback space with averageness almost. Hunt, Hoff, Cole, Waterman, Williams, Edwards, Jimby, 15 and 1 mark. No tackles. Where is his under 18-year-old season, his rookie season numbers? They've just gone kaput, and he just doesn't look right. Something's off with what's going on with Jimby, and yeah, he looked really good his first 4 or 5 games, and now he just looks bang average. Dewar, Johnson, Allen, Darling, True, and then Petrocelli came on a sub in the last quarter, I believe. And yeah, the last quarter, 7 minutes in, I think. Or no, he came onto the ground. Where is it? Here, 25 minutes into the last quarter, but somehow had a tackle before he came onto the ground. That's an awkward one. But yeah, I don't know exactly when he came onto the ground, but he ended up scoring 15, so it's negligent. Or negligible, I should say, not negligent, negligible. Hewitt here, 35, 5 and 10. He really dominated the game. You can see 136 he scored in the end. He's just not fancy relevant because he doesn't do this enough, because he had to wait until basically half their side was out or half their side was playing a midfield role. Newman, 119, 12 points in the first, but then he exploded. For all those that traded Harry Sheasel to Newman, fair play. I couldn't do that because I already had Newman. And I traded him to Sicily, which sucks, but it is what it is. Holland, 105. He did really well as that. I think he played a wing half forward role, and ended up with 7 tackles, which is pretty good. Kennedy, 104. Ended up kicking 2 goals, having 23, 5 and 4. He just dominated from almost a key position role. Cripps had 35, 3 and 2, and then also did a little bit of ruck work. Ended up with 100. And that's the problem with Paddy Cripps, and I know some people will be like, what are you talking about here? But he absolutely dominated this. This was a 3-vote game here, and he ends up with 100. Whereas if you look at like a guy like Nick Newman or a guy like let's see, and I think Elliot Yeo's in the same boat, where they have 3-vote games, but they end up being like 95 or 100 fancy point games that are 3 voters. Whereas other guys like Nick Dacos and Errol Goulden and stuff like that, their 3-vote games are sort of that 120, 130, 140 games. Because I know Nick Dacos had a 3-voter on the weekend. That was a 116. I mean, we've seen it from Paddy Cripps, but I think that's just the difference in those type of players. And even to a certain extent, Bond, it's just that they rack up those non-disposal points a lot more so than the likes of Cripps and Elliot Yeo. Or Elliot Yeo does rack up the non-disposal points but doesn't rack up the disposal points. And that's just the difference in them, and that's why he's probably less fancy relevant than less fancy relevant than other guys. And even though he's probably probably on track for another Brownlow medal, it's weird to say that the Brownlow medalist from that season is probably not going to be ever fancy relevant in that season. Probably other than this 4-week run here that he had post-bye. Other than that, he hasn't really been fancy relevant, which is quite weird to say. Holland, he ended up with 100, which was pretty good for me in Supercoach. I haven't actually checked the individual Supercoach scores, but I think because I didn't have any donuts, he did pretty well. Walsh, 97, again, just showing that he can do it, and he actually ended up with 5 marks, 6 tackles. Just didn't get the didn't get the disposal numbers that really can catapult you up there. He ended up with just having a really poor second and third quarter. 36 in those 2 combined is pretty poor. Pitnet, Kemp, Cowan, Akers, Binns had an alright start. It's a little bit annoying that he's now going to be probably, priced at 39, 38.5. Then you have 38.5, and then times that by what's now going to be 0.76, and you get 29.26, and 29.26 is 1 second. That is 264k. And say he goes another 71, so we go 71 plus 71 plus 6, divide that by 3, times that by the 0.79, that gets him all the way up to a 39 average, which a 39 average prices him at 351. So we are talking another 70 could be the matter of 100k or so difference in the way he's priced next year. So I'm kind of hoping he's priced around that 260, 270, even 300k, even if he goes like a 50, because a 77 plus 50, divide that by 3, times that by 0.79 is a 33, which a 33 is priced at 300k. I would take 300k for Jackson Binns with his VFL record. But he's just so hard to break into that lineup, looking at Carlton injury-free. Young, Williams, always, literally none of these guys matter at all, and they're not going to be fancy relevant next year, other than probably Moya. If he can get a role at basement price, Could he be fantasy relevant at basement price? Say he gets to 28 times the 0.73. He would be basement price. Yeah, he would definitely be basement price. I think basement price is... let me just do this quickly. Basement price 22.14, and times that by the divide that by the multiplier of, he would be at 0.76. So he would have to average 29.1 for the season, above 29.14 to be above basement price Moya, which would just be a 31 game for him next week if he plays next week. That would be the average he needs. But I'm kind of hoping he doesn't get that, because I feel like he could be one that just, much like Nick Watson, much like other guys, that if they are basement, the difference between him and Nick Watson next year, or Nick Watson this year and him next year, is that, 80k that Nick Watson started above basement. So that's why I think Moya could be an interesting option if he just gets a sub game this week, or doesn't even play, because he'll be basement price. And I think a basement price forward is always going to be good, even if they're a small forward, just because they have, at basic price, they only have to get above 22 or so to start getting a cash generation. And I think Moya can do that with the way he plays this game. But anyway, that is the video there, going through the West Coast versus Carlton. And in fact, that is the last game review of the year, given this is the last fantasy round coming up. And I don't do game reviews, as I will be swinging it into AFLW fantasy that starts on, I believe we have about 9 days left. I believe it starts 7:30 or so on the 7:30 p.m. on the 30th, which is, what's that now? Probably a Friday, I would suspect, is the 30th. I think it is. But yeah, we get into that. And so if you did enjoy the AFL men's content, remember to like and subscribe and turn your notification bell on so you know when the AFLW content swings into full gear. There'll be another, I think on either Thursday, so tomorrow, or Saturday, I will get my team reveal 2.0 up, and then probably there'll be a team reveal 3.0 on the Thursday the week after, or probably the Friday. It just depends. There'll be reviews on just different things, probably a potential injury update, as we've already had 3 or 4 girls that are fantasy relevant go down. And stuff like that. We'll just cycle through those, cycle through the sort of the new emergency signings, etc., as there's some fantasy relevance there. So we'll have videos, etc., on those coming out in the near future. So I'll see you guys in those videos. Bye, guys.